So hello friends, I am Suraj Jhunjhunwala. So in this video we are going to discuss budget 2020. So हम अभी तक videos जो बना रहे थे that was basically on India's or its management. I have made one video on study plan. So this video is particularly for अगर आप if you are appearing for May 21 examination तो आपके लिए relevant होगा. Otherwise, for public in general, this video is also pretty much relevant. आप देख सकते हो आप क्या की हाइलाइट्स है बजट 2020 का. सो ये 1 फरवरी को लाइक फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर केम विद द न्यू बजट. सो लेट्स सी क्या है बजट में. सो मैंने यहाँ पे इफ यू सी इन द स्क्रीन कुछ टैब्स बनाए हुए हैं. इंडिविजुअल कंपनी टैक्सेशन, रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस, appeals, other points and some disinvestments related points. So sections में मैंने इसको topics को divide किया so that we will be able to relate it easily. So for individual, what is the change? So if you see a table is here जो बोल रहा है old tax regime and new tax regime. Okay, so basically two so old tax regime as it is जो पुराना taxation था is still prevailing, and there is a new tax regime, some new tax rates has been introduced for individuals. What is that? First let's see that and then we will get to know कि क्यों ऐसा है, why we have two tax rates and how it is going to impact. Okay, so first is up to this is a comparative chart how the rates are different. For two up to 2.5 lakhs nil 2.5 lakhs to 5 lakhs the rate is 5% and it's 5%. Now up to so जब लास्ट बजट आया था you might have heard कि people saying that up to 5 lakh there is no tax. So there is nothing as such up to 5 lakh. If your income is up to 5 lakh then there is a abatement equivalent to the amount of tax. So at the end of the day that's not basically an exemption from the tax, but basically it's a rebate. If you have income of 5 lakh 1 rupees, you will have to pay tax on entirely what is above 2 lakh 50,000. So that's the case. So there is a 5%, 2 lakh 50,000 to 5 lakhs. Again 5 lakh to 7.5 lakhs. Old tax regime used to say that rate is 20%. New tax regime has introduced 10%. Okay, 7.5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, old tax regime used to say 20%. New tax regime says it's 15%. 10 lakh to 12.5 lakhs, old tax 30%. New tax regime 20%. 12.5 lakhs to 15 lakhs 30%. Here it is 25%. And above 15 lakhs 30% and 30%. Now the thing is how is going to work? So it says that taxpayer, basically assessee, has an option that they can choose between old tax regime and new tax regime. Now another question will arise, why someone will choose opt for old tax regime after looking at the tax rates in new tax regime is lower. Okay, so now the what is the basically the new, that is the discovery, new surprise in the new tax regime is that the person opting for the assessee opting for the new tax regime will not be having deductions. And what are those deductions? Basically there are some conditions that needs to be fulfilled. We will look into that. So ultimately if you are giving some benefit in new tax regime, the government will take away some benefits from you that was available in old tax regime. So as I mentioned it earlier, the taxpayer has option to choose between old and new tax regime. So option to new tax regime can be exercised every year if individual or HUF does not have business income. So you can every year see which tax regime is beneficial to you and accordingly you can opt for it. Okay, So that's the case. In case individual or HUF has a business income. So if in case individual or HUF has a business income, then option once exercised would be applicable for all subsequent years with an one-time option to change, except where such person ceases to have a business income. Now, what this basically the whole story is, if you don't have any business income, okay, then you can really change it every year as per your benefit. If you do have a business income, then you if and you have opted for new tax regime, then you can't change it in the subsequent years. Okay, you can't change it in subsequent year, but you can change it in the year where you don't have business income. Okay, when you opted, you had the business income. Now, going forward, you ceases to have business income. In that year, you can change it to the old tax regime. For all other years, have to mandatorily follow. You have to mandatorily follow, or basically new tax regime if you have once opted for it and you have the business income. I hope this point is clear to you. Another point is old AMT is not applicable in new tax regime. Okay? AMT is not applicable. Now for new tax regime, there is certain conditions that needs to be fulfilled. Basically, there is some sections which allowed the exemptions or deductions that won't be available in the new tax regime. So in that manner, the government is taking away some benefits from the taxpayer uh, that was available previously. So no deduction for house rent allowances, leave travel concession. 1014 there would be no deduction for 1014, 1017 there would be no deduction, 1032, and there is a major change that a standard deduction of 40,000 will also be not available. So you have to keep in mind 24B interest on borrowed loan for self-occupied property. If you have studied income from house property, there used to be some deduction for um, interest on loan brought for building house property and all. So that's the case. 6 and 31 1 to be 32 AD investment allowances won't be available. 33 ABT coffee rubber, 33 ABA, 35 2 double A, like when you have payment for national laboratory or university or IIT. So there's some deduction in 35 series. There is a series of deduction in section 35. 35 AD specific business like cold storage, warehouse for agriculture produce and all in 35 AD. 35 triple C is expenditure on agriculture extension project. So, 57 2A again, and then chapter 6 are deduction, ATC, ATD, and etc. Excluding ATCCD subsection 2 and ATJAA. ATJAA. Okay, so this is again, so these are some certain deductions or exemptions which were available previously, now won't be available in new tax regime. No set off or loss or depreciation from earlier years pertaining to mentioned under point 1. So now there is a new like story behind this is like you had you must be using these deductions in the previous year. You would have claimed certain deductions. Now due to such deductions you have carried forward certain losses in the current year. Okay, let's say you had total income of 1 lakh and you claim deduction of 2 lakhs that pertains to all of these sections. Okay, that pertains to any of these sections. So 1 lakh loss which you are going to carry forward to the current previous year from the previous year, preceding previous year basically. So that 1 lakh would get lapsed once you have opted for new taxation because that loss belong to these sections. समझ में आ रहा है? अगर कोई भी लॉस इस सेक्शन से बिलोंग करता था एंड यू हैव अवेल्ड दैट लॉसेस इन द previous year preceding to the current previous year, and you have opted for the new tax regime in the current previous year, so that loss won't be allowed to be settled off, and that loss or depreciation won't be allowed to be like carried forward. So exact line क्या है पढ़ते हैं? So the exact line is no set of or of loss or depreciation for Molly others pertaining to the deduction mentioned in point 1 and no set off of house property loss with any other head of the income. ठीक है सो हाउस प्रॉपर्टी का लॉस किसी अदर हेड ऑफ इनकम से नहीं सेट ऑफ होगा इस केस में इफ यू हैव ऑप्टेड फॉर न्यू टैक्स regime. Claiming of depreciation under section 32 as may prescribed yet to be prescribed, so there is there may be certain prescribed manner of claiming depreciation under section 32. No exemption or deduction for allowances or perquisites. ठीक है कुछ भी allowances and perquisites, so you have to have a broader sense of the new and old tax regime. So old tax regime had certain taxes that you already know. A new tax regime had have provided some relief in terms of tax rates, but again they have like almost taken away all the deductions, all the exemptions from you. So at the end of the day, you have to analyze which regime is going to be beneficial to you, and accordingly you have to opt for it. I hope you understand. So what it said was you have these all slabs. If you don't have business income, you can change it year on year. You can year on year analyze what is the benefit to you, and accordingly you can choose. Apart from that, if you don't have any if you have business income, then once you have opted for new tax regime, you can't again go back to old tax regime, except in the year you ceases to have the business income. EMT won't be applicable in the new tax regime, and there are certain deductions that won't be allowed. And one more important point was the laws pertaining to all these deductions can't be carried forward or can't be set it off in the current previous year. So you have to majorly remember all these points. Now there is in corporate taxation there is no as such major change. There is only one point, but because of that I thought to give a background to what was amended in the previous budget. So that's why I thought of giving the background of all the tax rates applicable to the companies, and accordingly at the end I will tell what is the amendment or to what is the introduced in the finance bill. So tax rates applicable for companies. For the first case, normal cases for domestic companies 30%, and if the turnover up to 400 crore in the previous year 17-18, अगर previous year 17-18 में you have turnover up to 400 crores, then the tax rate applicable will be 25%. So domestic company you have normal tax rates of 30%, but if you have turnover of up to 400 crore in the previous year of 17-18, then the tax rate applicable will be 25%. For foreign company, tax rate is 40%, as usual you have studied. Now what is the rate of surcharge? Rate of surcharge in the normal case it is still the same. Like rate of surcharge is up to 1 crore. If your income is up to 1 crore till 10 crores, the rate of surcharge is 7% for domestic company, and for foreign company it's 2%. If it's your total income exceeds 10 crore, then again rate of surcharge is 12% for the domestic company and 7%, 5% for 5% for the foreign company. So surcharge domestic company it will be 7 and 12%, and for foreign company 2 and 5%. It remained unchanged. Now a special case of tax rates has been issued. First case is your effective tax rate would be 25.17%, like effective tax rates that you will have to pay if you opt for case 1. In case 2, effective tax rate would be 17.16%. So, and this tax rates were not effective because 30%, and your if income exceeds 1 crore, then there will be additional 7% surcharge or 2% surcharge, and then you will also have a cess of 4%. So that's the base tax rate, and then you will have surcharge and the surcharge and cess. In this case, you won't have any additional surcharge, additional cess. That's the effective final tax rate, that is 25.17% and 17.16%. Okay, cool. So case 1, that was the rate of 25.17%. What is the, let's see. So what all deduction won't be allowed? 10 AA, if you remember, that is relating to SEZ. Additional depreciation won't be allowed. 32 AD, investment allowances, Then after 33 AB tea, coffee, rubbers deduction won't be allowed. 35 1 2 2A 3A. So when you give donation to you, so basically for statistical social research and all won't be allowed. So what deduction would be allowed? In-house deduction for capital or revenue expenditure. So that will be allowed. That is basically 35 subsection 1 clause 1 and 35 subsection 1 clause 4. That would be allowed. 35 to AA to AB won't be allowed. Again, it's a series of deduction. 35 AD won't be allowed. That is cold chain and all. 35 CC skill development and 35 CCD agriculture extension project, agriculture extension and skill development. That would be so 35 triple C, if I'm not wrong, is a agriculture extension project, and 35 CCD is skill development. Section so chapter 6A deduction won't be allowed. That is income based deduction, that won't be allowed. And again, laws pertaining to above these sections can't be carried forward and can't be set off in the current previous year if you have opted for these sections, as explained in the individual taxation. If you are opting for the new tax regime and the deduction which won't be allowed in the new tax regime, the laws pertaining to those deductions uh, can't be set off in the current previous year and can't be so basically carried forward. So that's the case. So similar cases there is in the uh, mm, case 1, that is basically 25.17% tax rates. So these deductions are not allowed. What all deductions will be allowed, like it's more of clarificatory nature ki don't think this deduction won't be allowed. So here if you see 35 14 was not mentioned, so you don't think it all the 30 section 35 deduction won't be allowed. 35 1 1 and 14, as I said, in-house revenue expenditure and in-house capital expenditure for research and development will be allowed. 18 double J double A, that is 30% deduction for additional employees on their emoluments paid would be allowed. Again, 80 LA if located in IFC, there is, so you see, so major tools you have to remember. See, this deduction will be allowed. Other points is this option can be availed in any previous year before due date of filing of ROI. So this basically you don't need to basically opt for this section. Uh, you don't need to opt for this section in the current previous year itself. You can opt for it at any time before due date of filing of return. So मैंने जो यहाँ पे बोला था कि that loss can't be carried, so these losses pertaining to these sections can't be carried forward or can't be set off. तो एक बार आप इस losses को utilize कर लो, then you can go for this section. आप एक बार normal tax rate में ही आपके पास अगर heavy losses पड़ा है जो कि इस सेक्शन से रिलेट करता है, you have heavy losses that pertains to these sections, then what you can do, you can opt for this normal tax rate. You can utilize those losses, and once that losses are exhausted, you can come back in this section, and you just what you have to do is you have to opt for that tax rate before due date of filing of return. So that is 25.17%. And now case 2 is relating to manufacturing and electricity generating domestic company. So if there is a manufacturing domestic company and the electricity generating domestic company, so previously up to us in the last budget it was introduced for manufacturing company. Now in the current budget it has been extended to power generating companies. So that's the change in the corporate taxation. But instead of just telling you this key, the 17.16% has been extended to uh, power generating company, I thought instead of doing that, just I should give a brief background of what the tax rates are applicable to company and in what all cases. So that was the whole idea of explaining all this, because the amendment is like a very a very less amendment is there, very insignificant amendment is there. If you see the entire deduct what all discussion we have made in comparison to that, we have only this one liner amendment. So when you choose for case 2 these all points were brought in the last budget itself. So only the new thing was is that came in the current budget was the 17.16% tax rate has been extended to the power generating company. That's it. That is the whole new thing came in the this budget for the corporate tax. But uh, for the betterment of you, I thought of discussing. So when the case 2 is applicable, basically rate of effective rate tax rate of 17.16%, you this the your business has to be set up on or after 1st October 19. Business should commence up to 31st March 23. ठीक है. Deduction not allowed, allowed same as above. So basically these all deductions will not be allowed, these all deductions would be allowed. Same laws pertaining to this all sections can't be carried forward or set it off. So same thing is there, so you can relate to that, you can remember once and you can apply for both the cases. Old plant and machinery can be up to 20%. So basically you have, when you are setting up the manufacturing project or power generating project, so you have to use new plant and machinery, but you can use old plant and machinery up to 20%. And in old plant and machinery, imported plant and machinery won't be considered. So imported plant and machinery will be considered as new plant and machinery, and that should for that old plant and machinery there should not be any depreciation that has been claimed in the Income Tax Act 1961 in India. ठीक है. So जो ओल्ड प्लांट एंड मशीनरी विच यू आर इम्पोर्टिंग, उस पर इनकम टैक्स में कोई भी डेप्रिसिएशन क्लेम नहीं होना चाहिए. इफ दैट इज द केस, you can claim that old plant and machinery as a new plant and machinery if that is imported, and no deductions for depreciation has been claimed in the Income Tax Act. I hope this point is clear. No split or reconstruction. आपको कोई ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि the business has been set it up after splitting or reconstructing the existing business. Option to be exercised before due date of filing first return of income. So if you are opting for 17.16 tax rate, then the first return of income which you are filing, in that return itself you have to opt for this tax rates particularly. Once exercised, can't be withdrawn. So this will be a lifetime option that you have to choose, that would be mandatorily applicable for all the previous years, and there would be no MAT applicable. I hope you got a pretty good idea of what all tax rates are applicable. Normally there is 30%, normally 40%. There is surcharge of 7 and 12% for domestic companies. There is surcharge of 2 and 5% in case of foreign company. Then there is two special cases, that 25.17% and 17.16%. 25.17% you have to you have to forgive some deductions and you can claim for 25.17%. 17.16% that is applicable for manufacturing company and the power generating company. You have to forgive all the certain deductions. Then you have to set up manufacturing project or the power generating project through new plant and machinery. You can have 20% up to 20% ka old plant and machinery. Important plant and machinery will be regarded as new. But in so case 2, you have to opt for case 2 in your first return of income, and that will be applicable for all the previous year. In case 1, you can opt for the case 1 anytime before filing of return of income. So okay, so this is the whole company tax rates. Now in residential status, what is the change? So I'll just read the text and then explain you. With a target to cover stateless person, it is proposed that Indian citizens shall be deemed to be resident of India for tax purposes if he is not liable to tax in any other country or territory by the reason of domicile or residence. मतलब the person, like if any person is not regarded as resident of any country, and that's why not taxed in any of the country including India, because he is not regarded as a resident in any country and he is not taxed. So in that cases, if such person is person of Indian origin, then he will regarded as a person resident in India for tax purposes, and he will be taxed in India whatever is applicable for the resident. अगर कोई ऐसा बंदा है जो कहीं पे भी किसी भी दुनिया में किसी भी कंट्री में, if he is not regarded as a resident for tax purposes, then in such cases, and such person if is of person of Indian origin, then he will be regarded as a person resident in India for tax purposes. ठीक है, और उसको ऐसे टैक्स किया जाएगा. दिस इज वन गुड चेंज. दिस इज शुड बी वेलकमिंग, क्योंकि अगर पर्सन सब जगह जाके अपना रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस हाइड कर रहा है, क्योंकि आप कहीं पे दुनिया में रहते हो तो कहीं के तो रेजिडेंस हो गए ना. ठीक है। तो और आप इंडियन ओरिजिन के हो तो आपको बनता है कि आप अगर आप कहीं पे के भी नहीं हो तो आप चले जाओ, फिर अपने ओरिजिन के हिसाब से आप रेजिडेंट बन जाओ। सो दैट्स द होल आइडिया कि आप कोई अपना रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस छुपा रहा है फॉर अवॉइडिंग द टैक्स, फॉर इवेडिंग द टैक्स, सो दैट पर्सन विल बी नाउ कैप्चर्ड। एंड आई बिलीव दैट अगर सारे कंट्री ऐसा कोई प्रोविजन इशू कर दे तो कोई भी पर्सन अपना रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस हाइड करके they can't avoid paying tax. So that's a welcoming step, I say. And Indian citizen or person of Indian, so if any person is Indian citizen or Indian origin, तो उसमें क्या होता था अगर जो कि या तो इंडिया छोड़ के जा रहा है या तो इंडिया बाहर से आ रहा है इंडिया को। सो नॉर्मली रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस देखने के लिए आप क्या देखते हो कि इफ़ 182 डेज और मोर है, और या तो 182 डेज और मोर इन द करेंट प्रीवियस ईयर, और या तो दूसरा केस क्या है अगर आपका 60 डेज इन द करेंट प्रीवियस ईयर है और previous year preceding to the current previous year, if you have stayed for 365 days in the 4 previous year preceding to the current previous year, तो आप प्रेसिडेंट बन जाते हो। अगेन क्या होता है नॉर्मली रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस के लिए 182 डेज और मोर देखते हो इन प्रीवियस ईयर, या तो दूसरा केस व्हाट यू सी 60 डेज और मोर इन द प्रीवियस ईयर प्लस 365 डेज इन 4 प्रीवियस ईयर प्रीसीडिंग टू द करंट प्रीवियस ईयर। ठीक है, आप ये देखते हो। सो अगर ये कोई भी कंडीशन सेटिस्फाई हो जाता है, यू आर रिगार्डेड एज अ रेजिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया। बट फॉर द पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन सिटीजन और पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन हु इज इधर लिविंग और coming to India, so is living for some business purpose, employment, and something like that. So in that cases only condition E is applicable. तो ऐसा क्या हो क्या रहा था कि बहुत सारे पर्सन इसका मिसयूज कर रहे थे, क्योंकि कंडीशन बी एक्सप्लिसिटली इसको लिखा हुआ है कि कंडीशन बी एप्लीकेबल नहीं होगा इन दिस केस। सो इसको मिसयूज किया जा रहा था कि 182 डेज वॉज टू मच फॉर रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस के लिए। सो उसको घटा के सेकेंड कंडीशन तो स्टिल बी नॉट एप्लीकेबल, बट 182 डेज फॉर इंडियन सिटीजन और ऑफ पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन के लिए 182 डेज विल नाउ बी 120 डेज। I hope you understood this. So this was again a major amendment, or the both the amendments, if you see, is increasing the scope of person who would try to evade their taxes. तो ये कुछ अपना स्कोप बढ़ा रहा है जो the person would now be covered under the Indian taxation. First we will see the other points and then we'll go back to some appeals ka point. So this is the last major topic basically, so that we need to discuss. Major change in dividend distribution tax. The dividend distribution tax has now been abolished. Now dividend will be taxable in the hand of recipient at the applicable tax rate. Whatever the tax rate would be applicable to the recipient, at that rate dividend would be taxable. So dividend would be taxable at the applicable tax rate. There would be one deduction that will be maximum 20% for the payment of interest on such income. So whatever income dividend income you have got, on that maximum 20% deduction would be allowed for interest, whatever you have paid for earning such income. So you have taken loan and you invested in the shares, and on that shares you have earned some certain dividend. So on that loan, whatever interest you are paying, that interest can't exceed 20% of the dividend income. So up to that maximum limit is 20% of such income you can claim the interest expense. Dividend domestic company and mutual fund liable to deduct TDS. So now as the dividend is taxable in the hands of, so basically if dividend is taxable in the hands of recipient, so in that case so basically company has to deduct TDS. So TDS was previously not applicable because there was DDT, dividend distribution tax. So there was no need of TDS, though there was a section of TDS, but that was not in effect due to DDT in present. So that's why and TDS was not applicable now because DDT has been abolished and it is taxable in the hands of shareholders. So there would be TDS, that will the rate of TDS will be for resident 10%, non-resident 20%, or DTAA rate, whichever is more beneficial. And if recipient is a domestic company, then it can set off to the extent amount further distributed up to 1 month prior to due date of filing of return. So whatever you have distributed, so let's say you have received 1 lakh ka dividend and you have further distributed 80%. So you have further distributed 80% ka dividend to your shareholders, then you have to pay tax only on 20,000, and that 80,000 should be distributed up to 1 month. So that has to be distributed 1 month prior to due date of filing of return. So if you have filing a return for in the month of October, then up to September you have to distribute such income, okay, of that previous year. I hope this point is clear. So what is the change in DDT? DTT is now abolished. Dividend would be taxable in the hands of shareholders as their normal income at their applicable tax rates. Maximum 20% deduction would be allowed for or interest of such dividend income. Domestic company or mutual fund has to deduct TDS, that will be 10% or 20%. And if the recipient is a domestic company, then they can set off the dividend further distributed if they have distributed up to 1 month prior to the filing of return of income. So not actual date of filing of return of income, it should be due date of filing of return of income. Okay, if you have filed a belated return, then it won't be applicable. Now there is a change in due date of filing of return uh, for company obliged to tax audit. So whatever company is obliged for tax audit, other than those company on which transfer pricing applicable. So so for that company's previous due date of filing of return was 30th September. Now date has been extended to 31st October. But in order to claim various deduction that is available to company, the necessary audit reports along with the tax audit report shall be filed 1 month prior to due date. So basically, the date of filing of tax audit report is still 30th September, but only the thing has been changed. Only the return can be filed up to 31st October, but all other documentation parts has to be done by 30th September to claim the deductions. So due date for all other things or other filings that was previously 30th September will remain same as 30th September. Only the filing of return has been extended to 31st October. I hope this point is clear. Now moving to the next point, TDS on e-commerce through e-commerce transaction. So now all of us are aware that how e-commerce like thing is playing in the market. Like it's playing a huge role. We have Amazon and Flipkart and Grofers, everything, all these players are like having a good market. They are doing n numbers of transactions. They have good control over the market. So just to have a better regulation on those transactions, uh, we have so in indirect taxes, if you have studied, there is also a TDS concept and TDS TCS concepts basically for in case of e-commerce transaction. So similarly, TDS has been introduced for transaction through e-commerce. So what TDS needs to be deducted for transaction through e-commerce? Normally it is 1%, but e-commerce, if e-commerce participant is individual or HUF, okay? If e-commerce participant is individual or e-commerce individual or HUF, then payment credit up to 5 lakh exempt from TDS, okay? I hope you understood. So normally whatever transactions you cover through e-commerce, then there would be 1% TDS. But if e-commerce participant is individual or HUF, then payment or credit up to 5 lakh is exempt from TDS. So basically in e-commerce there would be a customer. Let's say customer is A. There is a e-commerce website on which you actually place the order, let's say Amazon, and there is a seller. Let's say seller name is Cloudtail. ठीक है. So he will place a person A will place an order on Amazon, and Amazon will again forward this order to Cloudtail. Person A will pay the amount to Amazon, and Amazon will further pay that amount to Cloudtail. That's the case. Cloudtail will forward the product to Amazon, and Amazon will make the delivery, or Cloudtail can directly make the delivery to A. So whatever the payment Amazon will make to the Cloudtail, there will be 1% ka TDS. But if e-commerce participant, basically Cloudtail is, if Cloudtail is individual or HUF, then payment or credit up to 5 lakh will be exempt from TDS. If up to 5 lakh has been made in any previous year, up to 5 lakh का अगर कोई पेमेंट करते हो तो उसमें TDS नहीं डिडक्ट करोगे अगर इंडिविजुअल और HUF है Cloudtail तो. अदरवाइज अगर कंपनी है तो even you are making payment of 2.5 lakhs, you have to deduct TDS mandatorily up, that is 1%. I hope you understood this concept as well of e-commerce. अगर आप if e-commerce participant does not submit PAN, then there will be rate of 5% or higher rate, whatever is applicable. ठीक है. This was a major change. Now third point is whether there used to be always a confusion that whether 35 ADs should be optional or mandatorily कि cold chain वगैरह को basically hospitals को जो मिलता था hospitals then after you used to have warehouse for agriculture production. So वो सब के लिए जो 35 ED का डिडक्शन मिलता था, that was optional or mandatory, that was always a confusion in the market. So it is now in the current budget it has been specifically said that 35 AD is an optional. If you want to choose 35 AD, then you choose, otherwise you are free to move out from 35 AD. Again, there is an increase of threshold for tax audit. 44 AB mein there is an amendment. The threshold for getting the accounts audited is proposed to be increased from 1 crore to 5 crore, provided the cash receipts or payment does not exceed 5% of total receipt or payment, as the case may be. ठीक है. Whatever receipt or whatever payment you are making in cash, that should not exceed 5% of the total receipt or total payment. If that is the case, then tax audit threshold will be 5 crores, not 1 crore. ठीक है. I hope you understood. Fifth point in the other miscellaneous topic is FMB on 1st April 2001 cannot exceed SDV on that date. So previously आपको क्या पता था कि अगर आपको कोई भी प्रॉपर्टी आपने acquire 1st April 2001 से किया होगा, पहले किया होगा, तो you had option to choose cost of acquisition as a fair market value as on 1st April 2001. तो अब नया चीज़ क्या लाया गया कि जो भी आपका फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू एज ऑन 1st April 2001 होगा जो आप ले रहे हो, दैट शुड नॉट एक्सीड स्टाम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू एज ऑन 1st April 2001. अगर आपका स्टाम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू से एक्सीड करता है तो यू कैन मैक्सिमम what would be the maximum cost of acquisition? The maximum cost of acquisition will be stamp duty value as on that date. ठीक है. एक और सेक्शन था कि फॉर इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी के लिए क्या था, एक नॉर्मल आपको याद हो कि अगर आपका लेट्स से स्टाम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू अगर स्टाम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू अगर आपका 105% ऑफ सेल प्राइस होता था, नॉर्मली क्या होता था, अगर स्टाम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू सेल प्राइस से एक्सीड करता है तो यू यूज टू टेक स्टाम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू एज अ सेल प्राइस, ठीक है. So now, and there was also one relief that if stamp duty value is up to 105% of the sale value, then still you can take sale value as your uh, full value of consideration. ठीक है, actual sale price is a full value of consideration. Now that 5% has been increased to 10%. ठीक है, जो पहले 5% था उसको 10% कर दिया, कि मतलब अगर आपका स्टाम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू इज अप टू 110% ऑफ एक्चुअल सेल्स प्राइस, then you will take that actual sales price as a full value of consideration. That is the change. Again, there is other changes in section 194J. TDS on professional services, technical and other services was there. So previously, except for call center के लिए जो 2% का TDS था, except for all other things, may it be professional or may it be technical services, the TDS rate was 10%. Now for technical services, TDS rate has been deducted to reduced to basically 2%. So TDS on technical services under section 194J is 2%, but for professional services still the rate will be 10%. ठीक है. Go back in appeals. So what is the point introduced in appeal? Eligible assessee for making application to dispute resolution panel basically should include NR as well. So previously, if I'm not wrong, there was a foreign company that was eligible, and any other SSE uh, whose additions has been made by the transfer pricing officer. So what I vaguely remember was that was the case. The 2% that the two eligible SSE for DRP where one was foreign company and another was another if any additions were made by the transfer pricing officer. Now the eligible SSE will include non-resident as well. Faceless appeals is proposed to under up to CIT appeals. So previously assessment used to be faceless. Now it is proposed that appeal will also be faceless, and that up to CIT appeals, okay, there will be faceless appeals. So let's see, that has been proposed. And if you remember, there used to be stay on demand. If you are filing appeal to CIT appeals or something like that, then ITAT has power that it could give a stay on whatever tax has been demanded, and that used to that the maximum time limit was 365 days. If you have like filed an appeal against CIT appeals to ITAT, then ITAT can give a stay over that. That was up to maximum of 365 days. Okay. Now you have to pay. Previously you didn't need to have to pay any amount. Now अब आपको 20% of tax disputed tax you have to deposit. So previously if you have been given a stay, you were not required to pay any amount. Now you have to pay 20% of the disputed tax as a deposit. So that's few changes in appeals. Now one point is related to disinvestment. That is not basically a kind of amendment. That is a plan that a government is proposing, but it might be relevant to you. So they have planned to get a consideration of 2.1 lakh crore through disinvestment. So this investment will be majorly. So they have planned to get 90,000 crore rupees from disinvestment from PSU bank and financial institution. According to Finance Secretary Rajiv Kumar, the government expects to raise 90,000 crore through sale of stakes of state-owned LIC लाइफ इंश्योरेंस कंपनी एंड IDBI बैंक. तो IDBI बैंक और LIC को सेल करके ये लोग प्लान कर रहे हैं कि 90,000 करोड़ रुपया रियलाइज करेंगे. और अदर लाइक दे हैव आल्सो प्लान टू डिसइन्वेस्ट इन 100% disinvestment in Air India and etc. So accordingly, they are planning to realize 1,20,000 crore and 90,000 crore. 2.1 lakh crore they are planning to realize through disinvestment to improve the Indian economy. Let's see कितना Indian economy improve होता है. So these were the key highlight in direct taxation that was introduced in budget 2020. I hope आपको समझ में आया होगा. कोई भी query हो तो please do comment and let's discuss that over the comment box. Um I hope you like the video. If you do like the video, then uh, please give a thumbs up. Please do comment and give your feedback. If you have not subscribed the channel, please do subscribe it and press the bell icon for the latest updates. Thank you so much. Bye bye.